What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to have a bit of a different video, and I do apologize for this, but I've been super snowed under with this M44 build video that we have coming up. I've put together a bit of a how-to on stuff that I've done and picked up on this build. The Ford build, there's more content coming, but we just really focused on getting the BMW ready. So this video is going to be in two parts. First part is going to be a problem I picked up with the little grommets, which is a seal on the M44 valve cover, and how to actually replace them. And it was a bit of a trick I figured out. And then the second part is going to be a AN fitting install, kind of a DIY how to if you don't have all the fancy tools and stuff. So I'm sorry it's going to be a bit of a short episode this week, but I promise you we got the big episode on the BMW coming up soon, and we're going to have some more Ford content coming up soon, and then we have another project coming. So the BMW really has taken up all my time, and anyway, let's jump into it.
I'm Jacques from SSBB Builds. I've been racing front wheel drive for over 8 years. I won a championship, came runner up in 2 others. I'm building this BMW to find out what it's like to be involved with rear wheel drive cars and the classic BMW heritage. Join me on this discovery as I share my passion.
So one of the challenges I was having was that these existing grommets, or the old grommets, were so hard when I took fasteners out that hold the valve cover down. So I had to cut them off with the side cover, and then I couldn't get the new grommets on. So I ended up using some oil, and then I used a nut with the washer in a vise to screw in the hold down bolts. Now this proved to be very effective. I tried to smack them in with a socket, tube socket. It just ended up messing up the washers. Alright, so it's another day and we've had multiple nights. We've been busy on this. We haven't recorded everything, but one of the things that hold us up is that almost every single bolt holding the thread holding the valve cover onto the cylinder head was stripped, and we had to get pretty much each one helicoiled again. Also, the water housing that holds the thermostat with the pipes that come out for the radiator, all of those bolts were stripped as well. So I had to get that helicoiled. So big job for today, well, just one of the jobs, is to get all the valve cover bolts back on and not strip them. The torque spec is somewhere between 8 and 12 Newton meters on the cylinder head. So really, when you're doing these bolts, just make sure you don't over tighten them, because they come up to basically a hard stop, and that's really the valve cover seals up against this rubber. I showed you how to install that rubber. This bolt basically just locks inside the head, so do not over tighten. Okay, so it's about 9 Newton meters. So tightening it up. Tighten up. So it's 9 Newton meters, about 6 to 7 foot-pounds of torque, and you can feel it. Oh, just had these threads redone. So there we go, and you start from the inside out, same as a head gasket, just to get all of the any sort of imperfections, I guess. Ripples out. You push the ripples out. Now there's one that the guys didn't do, which they'll have to come back and fix. So that's always the case. You're going to be left with one. If you want to see some more of this kind of content, please consider subscribing. Just click on the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you're good to go. Alright, so excuse the mess, we're busy with 1,000 things. So this is the breather line for the M52, the 6-cylinder. This goes to the breather bottle, and this is FTF. These are FTF fittings with a braided hose. So what I've done is I've basically just measured, these are AN fittings, measured the length, cut it off the way I did that, put tape on and used a grinder. This is just a breather line, so it's not going to have any oil or anything going through it. So I must remember now how I do this, but basically what I do is I put a bit of oil on the fitting. So this is not the fitting, these don't have ferrules. They basically, this just slides over there. So now if this was an oil line that was under pressure, what you would do is you would obviously clean this with brake fluid and brake cleaner and high pressure air and just blow it out. But we're not too worried because it's a breather line. So you put it on a wooden surface, and then the way I do it is kind of just press it in. Just try and make sure it goes in evenly. So it needs to go almost all the way up to the thread, and then we will screw the rest of it on. Sometimes a bit of caveman always helps. You can also use a rubber mallet. That seems to work quite well. Not too far on, but just enough to allow it to seat nicely. So there you can see the hose kind of stops where the thread stops. Thread of this fitting. So now we're going to screw the male part of this fitting into the hose. So I kind of just use engine oil, apply some on the circular part and on the thread. So this technically goes inside of the hose, and then the thread screws onto the thread. Now this is the tough part, because you need to get the hose, this extension piece inside the hose like so, and then once it's in, you need to get the thread to catch and take. This is why you mustn't push it on too far, and it feels like it's caught there. You'll feel that you'll get to a point where you can't really turn it anymore with your hand. There we go. Okay, so now you're ready to actually screw it in. So there's two ways of doing this. I take the soft jaws in a vise, and I sometimes can clamp it like so. The only thing is, don't clamp it too tight. This is if you don't have all the fancy bits. Now you obviously get aluminium wrenches or spanners for this. I just use the big shifting, and then you slowly screw it in. You can feel it getting tighter. That's an indication that it's compressing the line and creating the seal the way you want it to. And there we go. That is 1 times breather line made up. So there's obviously different techniques based on the different fittings you get, but for this type, that's pretty much how you do it, and I've never had an issue doing it this way. Alright, so now we install the one side first, because it's got a screw inside into the breather bottle, so we'll do that first. Then I gave myself a little bit of play, extra play, and just mind all the cables. Try and line it up as best you can. Screw it on by hand. You'll feel if the threads are crossed. The last thing you want to do is turn it on, just nip it up. There we go.